This is an OK4, stay tuned. I think I've previously said that if I'm going to review a piece of kit, then it's not going to be brand new, and it's something that I will have had to have used for at least a year, so that I get to use it right the way through all of the seasons. Today we're going to look at a Hultafors OK4, and I've had this one for about 18 months, and it wasn't given to me. This isn't sponsored by Hultafors in any way or any retailer. It was purchased by somebody and given to me as a gift. So the review that you're going to get is an honest review of this product. The Hultafors OK4, OK standing for outdoor knife, is just that. It is a knife that is ideally suited for working out of doors. I'll quickly run through the specs. It's just over 8.5 inches long. I think blade length is 3.2 inches. It weighs about 4 ounces or so, which is ideal if you're going to carry it like I do around your neck. It's not going to weigh you down in any way, and it's made in Taiwan. So this is it. This is the knife. The blade, as I said, it's made from carbon steel, and this is a Japanese steel. I was a little dubious at first because we're all used to Swedish steels nowadays from Mora, but this is a Japanese carbon steel, and in the 18 months that I've had it, it's stood up really well to all manner of cutting tasks that I've given it, and it's required fairly minimal sharpening. Its edge retention has been absolutely excellent. The blade shape, fairly conventional shape. It's quite chunky compared to the other Hultafors knives. They tend to have a much smaller blade in that its depth is wider. Also, the blade thickness is about 3 mil. Okay, so it's virtually a whole millimetre thicker than the other knives in the range. Indeed, thicker than the standard Mora blades. The actual profile of the blade, it's got a Scandi gride, but the shape is quite chunky. It actually reminds me of the old aircrew survival knife that I had when I was a kid. It's a very similar blade shape, and it's pretty good at most of the tasks that I put it through. Because it's quite broad at the tip, it's not so good for fine carving. So if you're putting a fine neck on a spoon, this probably isn't the tool for doing it. That said, this very broad tip is exceptionally strong. We've had no problems when I've been boring into things, hammering into things. The tip has taken all of the abuse that I could throw at it. When you first get the knife, it's got this black coating all over the blade. The blade is all black. Once you sharpen it up, that is removed. Now that black coating is some electroplating, and it's there to protect the blade from rust or salt water. And what I did find is on the back of the blade, where it runs across the spine, when you're using it with a ferro rod, it's more effective if you remove that. It gives you a nice, very square edge. With the coating on, it's slightly rounded, so it's not quite as effective. The actual coating itself, well, it's stood up to 18 months worth of use, and it doesn't look too bad. It has these measurements on the front. I suppose you could use it as a small ruler if you needed to. I actually haven't found the need to use it. But overall, the blade shape, coating, profile have been absolutely outstanding. So looking at the handle, very simple design. Profile is simple and straightforward. There's no finger grooves. There's not a massive palm swell on it. Okay, it's a nice simple profile. It's got a little bird's beak on the back there, which just aids with grip a little, and it's got a good sized guard at the front, which again doesn't really impede use at all. If you need to grip it forward of the blade for when we're doing smaller, finer tasks, the guard doesn't actually get in the way. The coating on the handle is rubberized. It's something called Santoprene, and it's amazing. It really is a very good, comfortable, but also very grippy substance. I've used this year round, and it's been covered in all sorts of things, whether it's bits of fish, blood, gore. I've used it when my hands have been wet, cold, numb, and the grip has never let me down. On extended use, if I'm doing a lot of carving, this Santoprene has proved to be a very, very comfortable handle to use. It also comes with the standard Hultafors plastic scabbard. Small drain hole in the base, simple system of a belt loop at the back which can click open and be clipped onto a belt or onto a cord. It's also got this area here, like a lot of the Scandinavian knives, it can be attached to your clothing via a button. Also with this particular knife, the OK4, it comes with a fabric belt loop, which is a bit like the old-fashioned bayonet frog, but it also has a loop for a ferro rod on the side, and indeed Hultafors do a matching ferro rod which fits in the side. I don't particularly like having the ferro rod in a loop on the side of the sheath. I'd rather have mine separately. Mine is normally housed down on my belt. The sheath in use is very, very good, very, very effective. The only disadvantage is it's set up for a right-handed person. There's no way that you can make this ambidextrous in any way. But the sheath overall, really, really good. A lot of people say that these were brought out as an answer to Mora and their robust or their heavy duty knives, and indeed they have got the slightly thicker blade, it has got the rubberized handle, but one of the things with this particular one is that the tang, unlike the vast majority of these little budget bushcraft Scandi type knives, the tang normally only extends about halfway into the handle. With this knife, this is more like the more expensive Mora cancer bolt, in that the tang extends nearly all the way through the handle. I think the actual specs is that the blade is 90 something millimeters in length, and the tang runs to about 88 millimeters through to the other end. Those are the approximate figures, I'm not entirely sure. I've never had cause to actually doubt the soundness and the strength of the construction of this knife. I know with some of my Moras where they've been quite heavily hammered during battening, whether I've been taking trees down with them, then I have had a couple of issues over the years. But this knife has been totally used and abused, and I've never ever had a problem with it. I think it's described on one of the sites I saw as the Hultafors Expedition Knife, and it would be ideal if you were going out on an expedition, because this really could take all that you could throw at it. If you lost it, you're not going to cry yourself to sleep, because the cost of these is fairly negligible. The standard cost for these in the UK, I've seen them anywhere between about £13 and £17. In the States, they seem to go for around a $30 mark. An equivalent, if we were to go for the Mora, if we would go to the Mora Cancer Bowl, that's about twice that price. They go for over £30. So it's a very reasonably priced knife that you can do an awful lot with. If you're looking for something for a bug out bag, or something that you can put in the back of your vehicle as part of a survival kit, I would go for one of these because it really is a very, very good knife for not a great deal of money. I've used this one for everything, from splitting wood, shaving feather sticks, battening. It's very, very good used with a ferro rod. Indeed, it's very, very good with the magnesium blocks. It's one of the few knives that you can shave quite big bits of magnesium off the back of a magnesium block using just the back of the blade. It really, really is a superb blade. I suppose in many ways this is the LK35 of knives. The LK35 is robust and very, very dependable. Yeah, it's not the most up-to-date, yeah, it's not handmade, but it is a very, very good bit of kit. And this is the same. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. You can do a huge amount with it, and it is utterly, utterly dependable. If you are in the market for a dependable outdoor knife, then I would not hesitate to recommend one of these. It really, really is good. Indeed, if you've got one of these and a folding saw, like your Laplander, you're probably not even going to need an axe. For the most of what we do, you could split your wood down that you've sawn with your Laplander, and this is just a superb bit of kit. I would heartily recommend this knife to anybody who is looking for a good, dependable, reasonably priced knife for bushcraft and survival type work. Yeah, it's not so good at the fine, delicate carving, but you could get yourself a smaller craft line type knife with a narrower tip for those jobs. As a general purpose knife, this is the one you want. And indeed, I know several other outdoor instructors who got these about the same time as I did, and they don't use anything else now. They really, really are that good. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, then click my like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to our page. And until next time, stay safe.